All right, folks, we are back. It's the Alex Jones Show. I am Jason Bermas sitting in. I'm going to be with you on Sunday as well. We're about to, in the next 30 minutes, we're going to play a eugenics rant by Alex Jones. Hopefully he is going to call in before the end of the show. But we just posed the question to Mr. Dacy. If they do have these bank run, or not Mr. Dacy, I'm sorry, Mr. Chapman. The Bob and Bob thing is killing me right now. But Mr. Chapman, if they do have this bank holiday and people do start accepting checks that are post-dated, which may be the only way to really have transactions, like you said, because there's not going to be a lot of cash available. People won't be able to use their credit cards. They can't use their ATM cards. They're going to be completely shut down. Won't that cause an artificial bank run, whether or not there's an actual bank run with people taking all their money out, an artificial bank run on the day that they reopen because everybody's going to be cashing these checks?
No, I don't think it'll be that terse. They have the ability to process them, and even if they were backed up for 2 or 3 days, it's no biggie. It's just that many accounts wouldn't get credited as quickly as people would like. But they'll sort that out. I don't think that's going to be a big thing. The important thing is that people are going to learn that these kind of things can happen again, like they happened in the 1930s. And secondly, they're going to rediscover how important gold and silver is a medium of exchange. And I think that will come into play, especially silver and small coins like the sovereign and so on. And it's just, again, I think, a trial run to build up to something bigger that they got in mind later on.
What do you think?
I want to know what that something bigger that they got in mind later on is.
I think it might be that coin that Medved was holding over there. I mean, that coin just creeps me out that they've actually minted a global currency coin. Remember, it's in its beta test stage, but just that they have it there and they're like, this is what we want. And they're holding these meetings. Again, this BRIC meeting, this Brazil, Russia, India, and China meeting, they're openly saying, we don't like the dollar. We want to kick it in the back. They want to cut its throat. It's already crippled on its knees and chained up. They just want to cut the throat of it and just bleed it out.
Well, I just think, just as a retailer who day to day just rings up hundreds of sales all the time, that's what I do. It would just paralyze the whole country if they had a bank holiday. People get mad if I open 5 minutes late.
Yeah, but you know what? They do some things. They probably pull stunts, not only in the media, but in sports. They'd be like, free day to come on down to the stadium and see the Texas Rangers play. It's a bank holiday. It's a first, 20,000 that show up. They'd be, motivating people and really
be shutting down what's left of the real economy.
Hey, man, the social engineers are smart. That's all I know. All right, let's take some calls for Bob Dacy and Bob Chapman. Let's go to Tony in Texas. Tony, you're online. Yes, sir.
Hey, look, I really like the format with the Jason, Bob, and Bob show. Hey, real quick, Bob, where's your store? I want to give you a chance to give a quick plug for yourself.
It's a local. It's in Northwest Austin at Highway 183 and Spotswood Springs Road. And,
Can't say the name. I live in Austin, so I'm looking for a good hardware store because I ain't going to Home Depot and that other place.
Yeah, you think I paid this guy to call in, right?
I did not. This is an unsolicited caller.
All right. It's the hardware store. We're the True Value hardware store in Austin. It's the Hardware Store Incorporated, True Value. And yes, we do e-foods, and yes, we make screens, and yes, we sell the evil guns.
And apparently you fix toilets.
And we fix toilets. Well, we don't fix them. We tell you, no. Let's have a correction. We tell you how to fix them.
Oh, I gotcha.
And no, we don't rent toilet augers either because we don't want the darn things back. We sell them,
What else you got for us, Tony?
Well, first of all, I really called to talk about Heidi and Spencer and torture, but I just wanted to say something real fast. John Maynard Keynes is well known to have been something of a sexual deviant. He kept sex diaries, one of which is encoded. He liked to photograph young boys, and I think the whole idea of stealing from the future of someone else for your own perverse gratification kind of carries through into his economics. However, having said that, I saw that Heidi and Spencer were claiming torture, and so the whole time that I was hearing this, I was thinking it was over something I actually saw on that show in which they literally waterboarded the contestants.
What was that? I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here?
Yes. One of the challenges, they had an octagon with the little teeter boards attached to the side of like an octagonal baby pool filled with spiders and snakes. They had people on an incline board with their head lower than their chest. They had them in goggles and a protective jumpsuit, and snakes and spiders crawling all over them. And John Sally's there, trash-talking people. Go ahead, quit. You don't want to quit. And I'm like, well, this is the usual spiders and snakes reality show garbage. But then the pool starts filling up with water, and it gets all the way up to their nose. And once it got up to the nose, nobody lasted longer than 2 or 3 seconds. Sanjaya from American Idol won.
Yeah. Oh, he ended up with that? My God.
Sanjaya can get waterboarded apparently more than Janice Dickinson and whoever else.
Well, Alex Jones would tell you that this is just the standard dehumanization of a culture. It's getting you desensitized to this sort of thing. He wasn't a big fan, even though he's had Joe Rogan on the program and they're friends. He wasn't a big fan of some of the things they did on there, especially when they were taking metal spikes and throwing them through there. And this waterboarding debate has really just gotten out of control. I thank you for the call. It is quite obvious that this is torture, Mr. Dacy.
Well, the television is torture. I mean, the stuff that they put on the air nowadays is just complete and total garbage. It's meant to make us think like we're a bunch of animals and it appeal to our prurient side. I really like Leave It to Beaver, and I like Father Knows Best, and I like Gilligan.
I was a Dennis the Menace guy, maybe a little Mork and Mindy.
Cool, a little bit.
Munsters.
Whatever happened to Andy of Mayberry? Whatever happened to the decent shows? The vast majority of what's on TV now is total garbage.
Well, what's your take on pop culture and what's on the television and shows like this where they are, dehumanizing people to desensitize them to things like torture and waterboarding?
They're trying to turn us into what they think we are.
Well,
that's basically it. They're trying to turn us into what they think we already are.
Well, just lovely. Let's go to Rob in New Jersey. Rob, you're on the line.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good.
Basically, I heard a caller earlier calling about thinking about the military gearing up for something. I have prior service in the past and was discharged for not being MLS qualified within 24 months, federal law.
Okay.
And basically, I received the email within the week, and it basically said, you can join back in, don't have to go to MEPS, you don't have to do nothing, you can go right in, pick a job, and go to your schooling and basically be in. I found that
they're desperate to recruit as many people as possible into the military. We just had that caller earlier saying that people who were accused of small and petty crimes, and I thank you for the call, they were making sure that they'd signed in for selective service. We also know people, they'll try to send you to shock camp or say, hey, join the military after you've done something stupid like use drugs or sold drugs to others. And they're having a tough time selling this military to people because we're still in Afghanistan, we're still in Iraq, and we're still beating the war's drum against Iran.
Speaking of that, Jason, I just have to say this. I had a young man in my store yesterday. He had just joined the Marine Corps. Nice guy, really nice guy, and he was all proud. And he was a private first class in the Marine Corps, and we were talking, and I just had to bring up this Obama thing about the major whose orders to go to Afghanistan got revoked because he wanted to sue the president to make him prove that he's actually qualified to be president because he won't pony up his birth certificate. And we got to talking about that, and I was thinking how I was kind of at two minds about talking to him about it, because what I told the young man is, he listened and he understood the constitutional problems involved in a commander-in-chief who's a fraud, possibly, or won't prove that he's qualified to be president. But I told him, I said, listen, son, the Marine Corps is a great thing. You just do your job. You be a good Marine. This is way above your pay grade. So absorb it maybe, but just stay out of it. Because the Marines are, my dad was a Marine, my granddad was a Marine, my uncles were Marines. They're all Marines, and it's a shame what they're doing.
Yeah, no, how they manipulate military personnel.
Military personnel. Yeah. And they think they're out there to protect the United States and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and they're being manipulated into doing something which is the exact opposite. It's so sad on a personal level.
Bob Chapman, I want to get your take on what's happening in the Middle East and what your forecast is. We just had this big bombing in Indonesia. They're not saying who's responsible yet, but I haven't been watching the news wires. I'm sure they're going to blame Al-Qaeda or Al-Qaeda-like insurgents. Do you see an escalation in the activity there, or you think it's just going to kind of taper off into the background and we're going to just continue to conduct operations in Afghanistan and Iraq?
Hard to say, and I think it probably would taper off. And the problem is not only the occupation of Iraq and the continual bombings, but also the service that we are in Afghanistan, which I think stands a very, very good chance of going into Pakistan.